Okay, you ready? Yeah. Okay, okay, right. Welcome everybody to the Haverhill Town Council Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, 21st January 2025. First of all, just remind you all that this meeting is being screened live and recorded, so careful what you say. That's item one. Welcome. Item two is apologies for absence. Colin.
We had Councillor Davison.
Okay. Item three is declarations of pecuniary interest and requests for dispensations. Do we have any? That's no. Lovely. Thank you. Moving on. Minutes of last meeting. Colin, could you put them up, please?
Yep. Where are we? There we are. Okay.
Yep. Hopefully people have a chance to read through them all. So I'll go straight and ask for a proposal to accept these as a true record. That's Councillor Handon, seconded. Councillor Burns. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Any actions arising from those meetings? I don't know if there was any, wasn't
I don't think so, not particularly, because it's a fairly standard.
there? Yeah.
No, there's nothing on there.
That's what I thought. Okay. Lovely. We might as well take them down again. Sorry, Councillor Andre.
Can I just ask on 24D, have Barclays Bank sorted out their rent?
They have, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
Okay. So item 6 then, do we have any members of the public to speak? It doesn't look like it, does it? No?
No.
Okay, thank you. Straight on to item 7 then is the RFO report, which you have had sent through to you with the minutes. So 7A then is the Haverhill Town Council budget report.
You want that on screen, Chair?
If people would benefit from that, I think probably a good idea. Thank you.
Right, so Kerry has been busy adding a couple of columns, which threw me when I first saw them. But yeah, there's it is useful because the earmark reserves, particularly for things like Karen's projects, can kind of change the picture. And in this case, actually, the administration, it just happens that some grant funds for the UKSPF trundle through that cost centre and therefore flatter it. So it's useful to clarify that we're not hugely ahead of ourselves. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions people have on that first bit, Chair.
Any questions at all? Councillor Burns.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Colin. I don't have any problem with the whole report, to be honest with you. And I do quite like that EMR column now. Hasn't reduced the size of the font down at all, which is good. My only question was, and I know where it's been spent on, but on item 200, the Knife Angels, 16,000. Did we have a budget for that? Because I thought we only budgeted like 4,000.
I think probably, Kerry, you might be better to say about the ins and outs of where you've put stuff.
Kerry?
Sorry, Kerry, I've put that one on you.
That's okay. When you say that specifically, what are you looking for? So we had donations come in and expenditure go out. It all should be under the same cost centre.
It just says it's 16,000, which I didn't think it was going to be. I don't think we ever spoke about that sort of amount of money.
I can't tell you off the top of my head, unfortunately, what it is, but I can create a report for you if you want a breakdown of ins and outs.
Right, yeah, because it's way more than I ever envisaged. Thank you.
Chair, it's worth saying that I don't know whether when we move over to Scribe, whether there'll be a way for some of these projects to change it, because that 16th, the income for the Knife Angel is on the other side of the equation. I've only highlighted how much it cost in total, and of course it's what's been included in there because there was lots of activities. So what that isn't is that's not a net expenditure. And Kerry, am I right in thinking, have we had the deposit back from the British Ironworks yet? So
Yes, we have.
yeah, so if you think about it, that's immediately 4,000 off that total. There was 4,000, much more than 4,000 came in from the Just Giving page, and there's been various other things. I think some of this might be some projects that were done with other funding. So apologies, probably I was just explaining the extra expenditure rather than necessarily the
net. Yeah.
net. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so what's the next bit?
Bank reconciliation.
Please, yeah. Have we got that was the narrative of the RFO report, was it?
Yeah, well, just on that bit, we're continuing on. So,
Yeah, sure.
so I mean, if I can change here. I never remember how to do it. But if I stop that share, and then I will share the Treasury report, which is actually I probably could have done the same thing. Actually, hang on. I have to wait for the thing to get out of the way so I can actually. Oh, thank you. Right. I have a little message saying you are screen sharing, and it's decided to go directly over the tab I was trying to click. So this is the Treasury report. So the Treasury report goes to the end of December because we obviously these are bank balances, so we know the extra month beyond which the accounts are able to show. And I have looked at this report going a bit further back as well, and we are in a stronger place, not by a huge degree, but by sufficient. You know, we're up on where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
So that's reasonably satisfying.
Yeah, especially like the 32-day account seems to be a bigger chunk compared with last December, doesn't it? Also the instant bigger wedge.
Yeah, so 32-day account is where most of our money is sat. The 184 day account is there's I don't know why that's doing that, to be perfectly honest, because there's nothing in it. I don't know why it's showing an uptick at the end. That's a bit strange.
I think that's the main account.
It's the main account. The colours are
Oh,
very
it's the same
similar.
blue, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so there's a thin line in the middle there, so it's where that's gone. So yeah, so the main account, the reason that's gone up is Kerry and I were doing some treasury checks before we went on Christmas break. Because it's a 32-day account, my computer is programmed to bleep at me to tell me to regularly check that in 32 days' time we will still have sufficient funding. And because of the Christmas breaks, etc., coming up, and knowing there'll be expenditure over Panto, I decided it would be better to just fill it up a little bit more than normal. So that's why the account was looking particularly sort of well filled. But Kerry does a great analysis and gives me numbers for where she thinks we're going to be on cash flow, so that I can then look at that and invariably, but you know, there'll be questions, but invariably agree with her, and therefore I can program the 32-day account beyond 32 days. So I can say that actually in 50 days we want to draw some money down. So we can be reasonably certain that we're okay. So yeah, that's that. Let's go back to the report. Debtors and creditors. Sorry, Kerry, this is your show.
Okay, so as usual, town council debtors on the sales ledger is reasonably small. Again, nothing to be concerned about. You've got the breakdown of over 60-day debtors, and the majority of that, as usual, is the community trust, because we only really balance the community trust maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. Again, the purchase creditors, it's pretty standard. I had some issues with bookers taking direct debits, but me not receiving the invoices. But I have since chased them up, got the invoices, and matched off the expenditure. So again, I don't see anything in there personally that causes me any concern.
Okay. Anybody got any questions at all? No, everybody seems to be quite happy with that. Thank you very much.
And getting on to community trust, Chair.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's let's have a look. Sorry, you're all standing in the way there. I'll just move you across. Yeah, so you can see that the EMRs, and again, it's interesting, of course, because the project in there, the zone and youth projects, this is where they're getting money in, external money. So it's always good to see us leveraging in. It might be interesting. I suppose we'll do it as a matter of course, Kerry, at the end of the financial year, to actually publicly make the point of how much money from that we've managed to leverage externally in as a town council, because it's actually quite a lot of money that otherwise, those events, like those activities, wouldn't happen, or the council tax would have to have been higher. So they do an amazing job, Sue and Karen. So yeah, that's those figures.
Any question on those at all? No? Okay, thank you. Carry on.
The bank rec, sorry, just at the bottom there. So Kerry has started the process of closing the Haverhill in Bloom account. Generally speaking, I mean, the reality is that quite often we actually spend the money out of the main account and then move money around on our accounts. And it's only towards the end of the financial year that we try and make sure that what's in Haverhill in Bloom matches what's supposed to be in Haverhill in Bloom within the community trust account. And actually, the only thing that's ever going out for 10 months of the year, the only thing that goes out of Haverhill in Bloom is bank charges. So Kerry's started the process of closing that down. And I can't remember what it was called, Kerry. There's something we can do that means that if we do get a payment to Haverhill in Bloom, which I don't really expect us to, but if we did suddenly get a donation made out to Haverhill in Bloom, there's a way of making it so that the main account can accept it. I can't remember what the bank called it.
It's a memorandum of something, but off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is. But yeah, so if a cheque is addressed to Haverhill and Bloom, we'll be able to cash it in the community trust bank account.
Used to be called memorandum of transfer, but I don't know if that's correct.
That sounds familiar.
Cool.
Okay.
And then we've got debtors again. Kerry, do you want to run through these?
Yeah, so again, very little to be concerned about. We had, I don't know how much people are aware, but we've had some heating issues at the Clements. So there's been various, sometimes refunds, sometimes, slightly later payments or rearrangements. So we've had a little bit of to and fro, but as you can see, even on that, it's sub £500 easily, so nothing of any concern. And it's mainly ongoing customers that we have a good relationship with, so it's not first time business that we're losing. It's, you know, it's an ongoing relationship, so that's pretty reasonable. Again, for the purchase ledger side, we had, much like the town council, Anglia Water was taking direct debits and not providing me with invoices, but again, I've tracked them down, got the invoices, and they're now sorted off the system, so that's all sorted.
Marvelous.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating that now we understand that the heating engineers have finally got the part they need, but still said they couldn't come to us for a week and a half. So it's next week that the gas boiler should be back in operation. But obviously, the recommendation here is a credit note is issued because businesses, the WS training have had to go to the epicentre. We've had to cancel hirings. Helen was up to the Clements Community Centre again tonight because somebody had plugged in both 3 kilowatt heaters into the same circuit and complained that they didn't switch on. I think we can all guess what happened there. So Helen went up to reset the electricity, but we'll be really pleased when this is resolved. It's been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. So what's the total cost of that then? Can you remember?
The total cost of getting I don't think we know yet.
Oh, okay. Just wondered. Okay. Anybody any questions at all? No? Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. So what are we on to now? We're on to the item 8, aren't we? Yeah, that's the draft budget 2025-26. Consider the second draft of the budget and agree a recommendation to full council. Colin?
Yes, do you want me to put up the briefing?
Yes, please.
Right, okay. So I'll scroll through all of that because you would have seen that before. But this is basically the same as December. Might say that the leisure and community agreed the change to the opening times for splash pad and kiosk. So obviously that's in accordance with the budget that we've actually prepared. So look, ignore the bit in number 4. I wrote that in before I saw the minutes of the meeting, and actually there wasn't any kind of detailed discussion that would have in terms of any changes. So I forgot to take that bit out. So apologies for that. Tax base level, I think you saw in December. So in terms of what's changed, we've managed to kind of look at more because we've now got P9 to look at. We've been able to really analyse that financial performance, particularly at the Arts Centre, and also a bit more confidence in terms of where we think we're going with the zone, and those are 2 big kind of impacts on what we do, and therefore we've arrived at a lower figure than the figure that was talked about in mid-December. We've managed to shave another 0.6 off the increase, and that's really down to the better financial performance that the Arts Centre in particular has sustained. So I'm now more confident that I can actually rely on those figures rather than see it just as a blip. So that's just brought us down a little bit more. So I don't know whether there's any questions that councillors have, any comments. I can bring up the main budget. Obviously, in a screen, you're only going to see a few bits at a time, but we can analyse anything you want to.
It's a very small print, isn't it? Councillor Burns.
Yeah, I did manage to print it on 6 by 3 A3 pages this morning. So I've sellotaped them all together, and yeah, but
You can zoom in.
I know you can zoom in, and I've got big monitors here as well. But even so, it's a lot easier. Put it on the kitchen table and just run your line down, as it were. I mean, I'd already been over it anyway. Roger and I had, been through it anyway, so Roger had found more than I did. I have got a few little minor things. So I'm not going to talk about them here. I'll just email them to you, Colin. They're only pedantic things. They don't make any difference whatsoever to the final calculation. But it's just some questions regarding why we don't do this, why we don't do that in terms of columns and everything. But that's fine. I personally, I don't think there's a lot we could do about it. We know the wage increases are, massive, and upcoming national insurance and everything else is going to be a little bit of a killer for many businesses. So I'm going to propose that we recommend to full council the 6%. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Does anybody want to second that, or any comments at all? Yeah, Councillor Andre, you just seconded, are you? Did you want to speak at all? He wants to, but he can't.
Sorry, I'm struggling. Just to say that it's amazing that we've come in at 6%. It's remarkable that we've managed to trim it so beautifully. I'm disappointed that some of the cost of that is the kiosk closing times, but that's a decision made elsewhere, apparently. I'm not convinced that the saving we're going to make on the costs at the kiosk is as bad as it looks, because it doesn't take any account of the lost income. And I want to remind other councillors that part of our job is to provide services for the community. It's not just to make money. We need to spend their money wisely. I understand that. Some services will inevitably run at a marginal loss. But that's all I want to say about that. It's amazing that we've come in at this 6%, and I think that's a creditable performance by our finance staff and the clerk. Thank you.
Very much. Anybody else like to comment at all? Councillor Crooks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, speaking to residents, I think they completely understand that it's the government's budget that has forced the lion's share of this precept up. As in the report, employers' national insurance contributions have gone up 61% for the town council. That is absolutely huge. And the lion's share is down to the government's budget, sadly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment at all? Okay, so we're over the proposal from Councillor Burns and seconded by Councillor Andre to accept the recommendation or recommend it to full council. So all those in favour? If that's carried, thank you very much. Item 9 then is the change to the Scribe accounting software. Receive an update from the Finance Administrator. I guess that's you, Kerry.
Yep, so we are in the first stages of getting set up with Scribe, and so that looks like them importing all the data from our Rialto system over to the new Scribe system and essentially translating that into the new package of software. We have begun training calls with Scribe, and we've got a couple of kickoff calls this week that various key members of staff are attending, and so far I've found the training very useful, which gives me a lot of confidence that hopefully this company will be a good one to have in our corner, so to speak. They seem to want to help. Our planned go live is the 1st of April to coincide with the new financial year. So as far as I'm concerned, we're on track for that. There is training available for councillors. So once we're up and running, I would advise probably post go live. So post April 1st, there is training that councillors can attend via Zoom lectures that will help you know what kind of reports that Scribe produces. They do very, very good, very clear reporting. And so if anybody would like to attend that, I can produce a list of available courses if anyone's interested in attending. That's great. And they're generally 45 minutes to an hour on a Zoom call, so it's not too time heavy. And that's basically where we are at the moment. We're in the process of offboarding with Rialtus. The main thrust of what I'm trying to do with that is make sure that our previous data remains available to us. So although we don't have the software to be able to view it, we need to try and make sure that our data is ours and it's there and available to me. So I'm working on that with Rialtus at the moment as well.
So there's a considerable saving as well, isn't there, from using this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I think it offset something else that way I read it. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. Obviously, as you know, I've been saying we should have done this a long time ago. Rialtus, there's no reason why Rialtus, you could have Rialtus for as long as you like. We don't, it's an internal system as far as I'm concerned. When you log on, you're logging onto the internal system. You're not logging onto their system. In fact, we don't pay them money every year. It means that they're not just going to provide support to us.
I think my concern would be once we leave Rialtus as a customer, it's unlikely we will get updates to software. And so probably immediately we will still have access to the data, but as the software continues into the future and we don't get updates, it might get to the point where that's not available to us.
You and I can talk about this, but I can guarantee you wouldn't lose it as long as we've got the server it's running on. The only other thing I was going to say is post implementation, and that's quite an ambitious go live date, to be honest with you. I've done this 3 times before, transferring accounting systems, and the last one I did took nearly a year to do it, but to get it right anyway. But we'll be interested to see what happens. But one of the things I really would like to see is better interfacing between dissimilar systems that we've got. And hopefully Scribe will, facilitate that. Rialtus would not do it. They said we're not going to do it. But hopefully Scribe are a bit more dynamic in terms of things like spreadsheet interfaces, all this sort of stuff. APIs between, XML and whatever else systems. But it's things I've done in the past. But yeah, good. Well done. Thank you, Kerry, for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Andre.
Scribe comes with an incredible pedigree. It's a remarkable product. It is very well supported, and the whole point of it is it prepares the annual return at the end of the year and all the intervening returns without the fuss that we have at the moment, and without having to engineer our own spreadsheets so that councillors can understand what's going on during the year. The reporting mechanisms in Scribe are much superior to anything we've got at the moment, and I look forward to joining one of their training courses and finding out how to access the information. This is the way councils are being run elsewhere. This is what we should be doing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else got any questions or comments not to make at all? No. Thank you, Kerry. I think you covered A and B, haven't you, on the agenda? Lovely. So in that case, we'll go straight to item 10, which is the date of the next meeting. The Tuesday, 29th of April 2025 here. Okay, and with that, item 11 is just closure. So close this meeting at 19:29. Thank you all very much for your attention.